About a month ago, on March 3rd, Nintendo released their new console, the Switch, and so far it's been met with some pretty good reception. Time reported that Nintendo intends on doubling next month's shipment because of how high the demand was from launch. One of the launch titles, Breath of the Wild, has been allotted as one of the best video games of all time, and as of right now, it is the cheapest console when stacked up against its competitors. So the Switch has a lot going for it. However, none of that matters if Nintendo can't deliver on bringing an excellent gaming experience for portable gamers as well as console gamers. So let's find out if the Switch is actually worth the money. The first thing we're going to look at when it comes to the Switch is the design, and there's a lot to say because it's a very interesting console. It comes with three main parts, that's the dock, the tablet, and the Joy-Con controllers. Starting off with the most simple is the dock. It's what allows you to play the system in console mode. On the front, we're met with the Nintendo Switch logo. On the side, we have some USB-A ports and LED light to indicate when your game is actually in console mode. On the back, there's this little protector that you can slide down, and you have your AC adapter, which is USB Type-C, the USB-A port once again, and an HDMI port. Whenever we take a look at the side, it has this little dip. That's where you slide the tablet in to play it in console mode. Speaking of the tablet, it's a pretty neat device. I kind of have mixed feelings on it though. Starting from the top, we have the game card slot, and the games for the system are tiny. There's a headphone jack, which is your only external audio option. Unfortunately, there's no Bluetooth support. We have a speaker that's right on top as well. It's not a very good speaker. It's pretty average. We have a volume rocker, which once again is average. It's pretty standard. I do have one problem with the power button. That is, whenever I take the Switch from portable to console mode, I'll hit the power button on accident a few times, but luckily it just goes into sleep mode. It's nothing too severe. On the side, this is where we get the Joy-Con controllers, which I'll talk about later. On the front, we have a 720p plastic display. It's nothing too fancy. The resolution isn't too much of a downside because the game is on such a small screen, you don't notice it anyways. However, since the screen itself is super glossy, it's very reflective. I mean, you can basically see what's right behind me. It's not a very good screen at all, but it is touchscreen, and the touchscreen on it works pretty well, especially when it comes to navigating through the menus on the home screen. On the bottom, we have the USB-C port, which is again used for charging and in dock mode, but there is one problem. On the back, we have a kickstand, which is not only super cheap and poorly made, but under that flap, we have the micro SD slot so you can expand your storage. But again, with the kickstand, if you have your console on tabletop mode, you can't actually charge your Switch while playing it in tabletop mode. So that's a bit of a downer. Going back to the UI, it's super clean like I mentioned. Navigating through menus is a breeze in both console and handheld mode, and with the touchscreen functionality, it just adds another layer to making it super simple. I had a breeze navigating through the Nintendo eShop and the settings. There's also a quick way to access your settings too, so Nintendo did a great job on rehauling the way that they make their home screen and their UI as a whole. As far as performance goes in both console and portable mode, you get better performance when it comes to portable mode because the screen's in 720p. In console mode, it's in 1080p, which Breath of the Wild suffers some significant frame rate drops, especially when it's in grassy areas, so look out for that. But you can actually change the resolution on the TV from 1080 to 720 and 480 for some reason. Aside from Zelda Breath of the Wild, there's not too many games out right now. There's 1-2 Switch, which is a game that you should 1-2 ditch. And the eShop has a few JRPG hentai simulators. There's The Binding of Isaac and World of Goo, which came out on the Wii like 10 years ago. So right now there's not a lot of options. But when we look into the future, we have some pretty stellar games that are coming out. Platonic Games said that they wanted to release Yooka-Laylee for the Switch as fast as possible, so you can look forward to that. Next month, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Edition is going to be coming out. An excellent choice if you did not pick up a Wii U. There's also going to be Super Mario Odyssey that's going to be coming out later this year, along with Splatoon 2. There's talk of the Skyrim remake, and there's a rumor going around that the Dark Souls trilogy is going to be remade for the Switch, so fingers crossed on that. It looks like by the end of the year, Nintendo's going to be having a pretty solid line of games that they're going to be releasing, so we're going to stay tuned for that. As far as accessibility goes, this is the most versatile console that I've ever seen. Of course, I mentioned you can play the Switch in console mode, you can also play it in handheld mode, but we have the Joy-Con, the most interesting controller or controllers that I've ever seen. Of course, you can put them on the side of the Switch to play your games, but if there's a two-player game, as you know, you can slide them off, hand one to your friend, and they both act as sort of a NES controller. They have these two bumper buttons on the top that are a little painful to actually use and press, but Nintendo has a solution to this problem. They have an accessory that comes with the system that you slide on top of your Joy-Con, and then it has protruding buttons to make them much more comfortable. However, they are really difficult to get off, and I was nervous that I was going to break one of my Joy-Con whenever I was trying to take off the top bumper parts, and some people have actually gotten these pieces stuck, so I would stay away from them for the time being. Nintendo also included this controller dock that you can slide your Joy-Con in, so it's a much more familiar experience, kind of like a PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. However, it's extremely uncomfortable to use, and I don't recommend it at all. I thought the only reason they included it is so you could charge your Joy-Con while playing games, but it doesn't even come with a charging port, so it's just a piece of plastic that makes holding this controller much more uncomfortable. Honestly, I would just throw it away. The only way that you can charge your Joy-Con is by putting them into the Switch and then putting your Switch into the docked mode. That's the only way you can charge them. But I've had no battery issues, and I've also had little connection issues. It only takes a few seconds for them to pair up with my Switch, so that's a big plus. The only way that I actually use the Joy-Con, which is my favorite, I saved the best for last, is just having them separate. Having them separate means I don't have to crunch my hands together like an old-fashioned controller. I can just really sit down, relax at my desk, and it's a much more loose experience, and it makes it the most comfortable controller I've ever used, and it's one of my favorites. I can't believe I've gone this far into the review without mentioning the Switch function. You can go from the portable mode to the console, and that's a pretty good transition. It takes about 6 seconds maximum. I think it's just because it has to render the display. And the only reason I can notice that it's a difference is because whenever you take it from console mode to portable mode, it is an instant transition. It's completely seamless. I'm kind of blown away by how quickly it changes. Should you go out and buy a Switch tomorrow? Not exactly. I would definitely wait until about December, but if you're a huge fan of The Legend of Zelda and you're constantly on the go and you did not pick up a Wii U, I would say you should probably pick up a Switch as fast as you can, but other than that, I can't quite recommend it to everybody, at least just yet. Well, there you have it, folks. That has been my review of the Nintendo Switch. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe if you want to see weekly tech videos. Please leave a comment down below if you have any questions. I'll be able to answer every single one of them because I only have 20 subscribers anyways. Other than that, that has been this video, so I'll catch you in the next one.